to a new episode of the podcast, a new year, new perspectives, new people that we can talk to. And I'm sorry that we haven't been as active as we would want, but I think that this episode will kick off the year just the way that, um, uh, just the way that we want it, to help out people, whether you have a business or even in your personal life. I think finances is one of those things that we always have to grasp continuously on a daily basis. So I want to present to you guys a person that I've been wanting to meet for almost a year already. I've been following her for 2 years, but her schedule seems to be pretty booked. So, accountant Bay Jazelle, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Um, and in order to kick off the episode, tell us a little bit more about your background. Well, what I always like to know is like kind of like where'd you started, or did you ever see yourself like in the path that you're going now?
Okay, so no. So I
Mm-hmm.
have never seen myself walking through this path. I just feel like the journey, like being as a younger, like when my mom used to do my hair and I used to see her like working constantly and like just having different businesses. Like my mom used to do hair
Mm-hmm.
like at her house, and so like I just started to like always like I guess have that hustle mentality.
Mm.
And I mean, I always knew that I wanted to go to college. Like, I wanted to do the right things, right? So I just started to figure out what my path is going to be. And since in my family, we've always done like we've had businesses like in the Dominican Republic. Like, I have an uncle who owns like a bar and like, or we own land and things like that. So it's like, it's always been kind of like in my DNA, to do something more than just like working or just just trying to do more than what we normally typically do. So
And at a young age though, I think that in order to have that perspective, you kind of have to have like self motivation to like want to
absolutely,
like do those things, because I mean you could be born into like some type of commodity, but if you don't have that
Abs-
perspective of like, okay, I want to grow this, and you really
yeah.
don't get out.
Yeah, my mom, I mean, she's my biggest motivator.
Mm.
I feel like that's like what inspired me to like continue going, because I think she's the owner of Prestige Hair Salon here in Matthews, North Carolina.
Mm.
And she started back in 2016, I want to believe.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom is 62 years old and she's still grinding it. And so like for me, it kind of like it encouraged me to never stop growing, right? No matter what age you are, you could be 30, 40, 50, you could continue to face those dreams and like go after what you want to go after. And so I've seen my mom grow up. My father, he suffered a stroke in 2008, literally when we just got here, because we come from Rhode Island. And when we got here, he had a stroke. So my mom had to really figure out how to raise two daughters as a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've learned a lot through that, because then she had to get her, she started working out of her garage. I mean, there's a lot of women that can really remember those days, because they were there too doing their hair, and my mom would like always cook for them, and like, and I'd just be like, oh my god, all these people are coming here. But that's how it started. It's just like seeing my mom doing her business, and then when taxes came, it was like, dice, aumento, qué sé yo. And I'm just like, oh my God.
You're
Like,
like 13-year-old, and you're like,
yeah.
hey, read over all these papers and tell me what to
Yeah,
do.
like I was her translator. I was her, like, everything. Like, because, like, when you have immigrant parents, like, you're starting to you're molding yourself into this American system.
Mm-hmm.
You have the language. You start to, like, be quick on your feet and figure out, okay, banks, writing a check. Like, I still to this day write checks for my mom, because she's like, I do them. I think at this point she's just getting a little like spoiled.
Mm.
But she just, I mean, I love her to death, so I'm like, that's my mom.
And that's kind of the same thing I confront, in a way that, like, since I know kind of what I'm doing, or I have the resources to help my parents, I'm kind of found in that same situation. Like, they're like, Mario, do this.
Mm-hmm.
Mario, do this. Mario, do this.
Mario,
You
you said.
and
Yeah.
and it gets very overwhelming fast.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, I'm like, okay, like these are my parents, you know, and if it weren't for them, then maybe I
Yeah,
wouldn't be able to help them, or I
that's true.
wouldn't be in that position
That's
to
true.
aid them. So, okay, like I'll be thankful, you know, like
Yeah,
I'll always try to support them, you know?
right. And then it's hard because you're also finding your own self, and
It,
like you're in a
absolutely.
different generation, a different like, so you're just trying to find your own self. Like my mom also like built her business from the ground up. So now I'm building my business from the ground up. And so it's like also like I have this other job that nobody knows about, right? I also take care of my father, and my father lives with me because my parents separated. So that's another thing that I have.
Mm.
So I'm grateful. Like you said, I'm blessed because I feel like, having this career has really equipped me to like know all the things. Like, I mean, no, I don't know everything, but like being able to help my mom with her taxes, with her bookkeeping, being able to even help my father with his Medicaid application. Like, I feel like we have these roles where it's like we're more than just a daughter. We're like their own finance person. We're helping them with legal documents. We're helping them with so much things that we don't realize how much talent that we have, and that we can like, hey, what if I can turn this into a business? Because I hope this family brought, like, I have a friend of mine who assisted my own immigration paperwork for my husband, and she's not a lawyer, right?
Mm-hmm.
She learned it from the internet. Like, she was, she didn't have the money to bring her husband from the DR, so she's like, I'm gonna find it, for myself. And I said, hey, if you're willing to help me, I'll pay you, because I know you know how to do it, and I don't got time for it. Like, I got
Yeah.
already all these things that I have going on. So, and I love to see I love to help other people too, because I mean, in order for you to grow, you have to like kind of work on trusting others, right? And seeing them for who they are and helping them grow as well.
When did you end up discovering that you could put that talent to your own use? And by that, I mean, like, I know that you kind of had accounting in your mind and
Mhm.
you worked jobs in accounting.
Mhm.
But when did you realize that you would use it to your benefit?
Yeah.
And was it a 360 change? How did it impact you?
That's a really good question, because I feel like I've always tried to start, but I was just scared, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's what it is. It's like sometimes we're just scared to start. And once you start, I promise you that things are going to start to align with what you're working on. Like, I didn't know Melissa until probably a month ago, you know?
Okay.
Um,
I didn't know that. I thought
yeah,
you guys were longtime friends.
no. It's like when you start to believe in yourself. I have I have partnerships with a startup company based in Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama, SmartWiz. They believed in me. They were like, no, you have what it takes. And I mean, just having connections with other people, you're able to believe in more of yourself, and then it's just all the ideas just start to flow, right? And I want to say, like, at 17 years old, when I started my accounting career, because I started at 17,
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of afraid. I was like, this is what I'm walking into, because like, one day I was just on Google. I was like, okay, give me the top 10 jobs that I know for sure will have a job, because I wanted to make sure after graduating college that I will have a job. And so that was my
Mm.
biggest fear. It's like I want to be a necessity, or whatever the case may be.
Because most people that go to college don't end
I,
up pursuing something that they studied.
exactly, and I didn't want to be one of those. I was like, no, if I'm gonna spend, I'm gonna get in debt, because having student loans, and I didn't have parents to pay for college. I like had to figure it out all on my own. I was like, I need to make sure that this is gonna pay out,
Okay.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I just looked it up, and I'm like, okay, accounting, and then I started looking at it, and I'm like, oh, okay, so it's the language of business. I'm like, okay, yeah, I want to be a businesswoman, but I didn't know that, this was going to be all like a journey for me. And so what really got me started was SmartWiz. Like I saw them on a podcast. They were talking about taxes, and they're actually engineers by trade. And they came up with a whole like amazing software for tax professionals. And since I'm like an AI girly, like I love like anything that makes my job quick. I was like, I'm all for it. I want to support them. I want to see what they're doing. They're like my age. I'm like, okay, this is kind of like, okay, I like, and since then, I've been able to, like you said, like it's been like a 360 almost, but it's been a long journey. It's been since 17 years old, like trying to figure out how I fit in, because I've worked in mortgages, I've worked in solar energy, I worked in retail, manufacturing. My mom is a stylist, so I that's my DNA, because I'm Dominican, so we do blow drying, we do all of that things. Like that is us. So barbers, hair salons. So beauty is like in my DNA. But I'm like, I could still empower other women, right? Because I have my own background. I'm a single mom. Well, I was a single mom. I just recently got married.
Congratulations.
And so like 2 years ago, it was hard for me learning how to, the newborn stage and all that good stuff. And I just knew that I needed to go through these things in order to be where I'm at. Like it's just God at the end of the day. Like, just trying to figure out what's the next move for me. And this is the right move for me. Accountant Bay, her wealth counsel, like I'm trying to build other women find themselves as well and build themselves up. And if they don't have a side job, or if they don't have a business, at the end of the day, they can come on. They can, start a tax business, because we need more financial advocates in our own families, in our own community, right? And it's a powerful skill. Like, it's underrated, but it's a powerful skill to understand the IRS system. Like, once you get it, like, all you gotta do is just help the next person and pay it forward. And so that's how, we kind of started it.
Was your relationship good with money before?
No. I mean, I don't want to say it's terrible. I want to say, like, I knew that I can't afford. I know where I'm drawing the line, type of deal. Like,
okay.
Because
I always have this conception that accountants, or that even people that seem to have a good life, are always good with their finances.
Well, that's because the finance is all behavior. At the end of the day, it's really, sometimes I'm hungry, and instead of me going and cooking, I'd rather just like, oh, let me go to, the nice. And then some people are like, oh no, we're not gonna go to, Cheesesteak Factory. No, we're gonna go to a different style of restaurant, right?
Yeah.
So it's all about your lifestyle, and lifestyle creeps on you, because when you start having kids, when you start the new job, and now you gotta drive, further, it's like these things start to creep over time. And so for me now, it's like, how can I keep more money in my pockets? That's me now, because of the tax background that I was able to add, because I didn't always, I didn't know I wanted to do taxes. Like, taxes was not in the books for me. I wanted to just be like a bookkeeper, or just help business owners organize their finances. But like taxes, having a great foundation in taxes, it keeps like you as an investor all the time. Like, where's my opportunities now? How can I invest in myself and create more opportunities for others? So yeah, I'm like, okay, let's go to a nice restaurant. Like, who are you, first of all? Because if we're like working together, we're coming up with, different things, then absolutely I would love to have a nice dinner, because I'm able to write it off on my taxes. So now it's like we have to just be more understanding of how the IRS system works, right? And once you start, and once you have that person like in your, that you can trust and that you like, that can teach you those things, Like, the way I pride myself is all my clients, they know they can text me. Like, like I have systems in place where you can get a text message from me or email from me. If you have any questions, I'm there. And then I'm growing my team as well so that they also have the knowledge, and they probably are way better than me, because I have one that's trying to become an EA, which is amazing, right? And so, like, I encourage all my girls to continue to learn, continue to grow in their fields, because we can all do this together. It's just not like one person.
But then going to your Smart Wiz journey, how is it much different than a lot of other programs then? Because you said it's a tax
Yeah, so
prepare.
the thing is that tax pros or tax professionals, where we mostly spend our time, is literally copy and pasting information. Literally taking first name, last name, all these tedious information, and putting it into the system. Now, SmartWiz, they said, okay, we're going to advocate for tax professionals, and we're going to create something where you don't have to figure out, like, the name. We're going to automate all of that for you. So they started as a tax firm, and there's you guys can look them up, Tevin, the CEO, and SmartWiz in general. But they've helped us, because since I'm, like, quick on my feet, like, I'm just trying to get, I'm trying to make sure the client understands their tax situation. I'm just, trying to help them as much as I can. And sometimes paperwork and client paperwork is just takes us forever just to get the ending result. So they cut out that data entry for us. So, like, if we had a data entry person, we don't need them. We just need someone to help us review the return, actually providing more of an impact in our organization than just being a data entry person, if that makes sense. So they decided that, as engineers, they're going to create a whole product, right? They're trying to, like, hopefully they could be the next Tax Dome, or like the big dogs, right? They're trying, they're trying to get there, and I see their vision. Like, they're building $1 billion business, like from in front of my eyes, literally. And I support them because they supported me. They brought me clients as well. We help each other. Like, we're in this together. Like, everybody is vital in your business. So it's just, it's been an amazing journey with them.
But in order to get to the tax point, is it not important to start prepping yourself to save taxes at the start of the year?
Absolutely. So there's a difference between tax planning and tax preparation.
Okay, tax planning and tax preparation.
Yeah, and in order for you to do tax planning, you got to make sure you have bookkeeping in place. You got to make sure you have at least 2 years of your most recent tax return already in place. Okay. And, like, you just really have to have everything up to date in order for someone to come in and do a tax plan strategy for you. And tax plan strategies are completely different from just tax preparation. And
tax prepping is just grabbing the copy and paste, right?
Yeah, past history. Just past history of, like, okay, looking at a W-2, okay, this is what you made in 2024, because we're in 2025 now. So what you did in 2024 don't matter now. But for 2025, let's say you didn't like your tax return for 2024. Okay, let's talk about it. Okay, what can we do to get better? Okay, you don't have bookkeeping. Let's get you on bookkeeping system. Let's create strategies where you can understand more of your finances. Well, now you understand. Like, first of all, there's some people that don't understand, and so, and some tax professionals don't know how to explain it either. And so
that's kind of where I want to have the conversation, because, like, most of the times, in order for me to find the person that really adequately, like, advocates for me or even really looks at me for me, most people are chasing, like, just to get paid, right? But most people don't really teach you what you have to know, because my experience is that I got into debt. I'm paid by 1099 by a construction company. And I'm like, hey, I want to apply for a house. They're like, just max it out the most you can. I was left with $100,000 in like a 1099, and what ended up happening is that now I owe, because of that, I have like a $40,000 debt, but because they never educated me or they never told me maybe some of the hurdles that I would have even applying, because even if you have that high amount, you still need a good credit, you still need these type of things. So like,
right.
I know that I'm not the only one kind of put into those situations.
Yeah.
Because of, and I don't even blame them. Maybe because it was also me being naive and like just kind of be like, okay, just do it, right? So like,
right.
I think it's very important also like to take it case by case on like not just taking them as a client, but also you kind of being a teacher towards them.
Right, and you do have to be at the end of the day a teacher for them and get to get to their level. Like maybe if they don't understand or if they speak Spanish, like just try to like do your best to, help them understand their tax situation. But just going back to that 1099 for 100K, like me writing a 1099 for 100K, I would be like calling you right now and say, hey, like that's gonna be a really hefty bill, and at least having that conversation before you just go about your way and like, oh yeah, I got a 1099. Like I'd rather have a conversation because I want to know what went wrong and figure out how we can make it better. See, that's our job, is to like, okay, this happened, maybe we had to make it happen this way, so for next year we do it this way, or whatever the case may be. But we always try to make it better than always the next time.
Yeah, and that's where I think that I don't know which one it would fall on, then tax planning, right? Not no tax prepping. I think maybe knowing a little bit more of how everything works would have helped me then. But yeah. I mean, either way, that issue
it happened, and now we learn from our mistakes and or our experiences. Yeah.
How do you take on your clients or even the women that you empower? Because I bet that the portfolio of businesses you take care of is very diverse. Like, how do you attack their finances? Like, I'm fresh and I'm like, hey, I've been in business for 3 years. My taxes are a mess. My finance is a mess. How do you organize?
Well, I kind of meet them where they're at. Like, let's just say maybe their credit score is not good. So I'll help them with their credit score. Investing in me means you get all of me, whether it's credit score, whether it's bookkeeping, like whatever it gets. But so like I could see the stress, so I would figure out what their main pain point is, and it's like, okay, how can we relieve it? So I had a client who didn't have a great credit score, and she was paying I think 15% from a car loan. And we looked at her credit score. We saw that, wow, her credit score is not that bad, but she didn't understand interest. Like she didn't understand the interest in the credit statement, how she was paying interest. Cause like,
can you explain that to me, or for even the people that
absolutely.
what that, like, her issue? What
her
is that?
issue was something that I feel like I understand. I'm like, like me as a finance professional, I'm gonna understand. Yeah. I'm like, girl, wait. So her balance was like, let's just say, for example, her balance was like $1,000, right?
Remaining of the car or her payment?
No, just her credit card payment. Her credit card. Okay, so the thing was, let me start from the beginning. Her credit score was not so good, but it could be better. So I started to evaluate all of her stuff. I started to evaluate, well, I can't do nothing with her car because it is what it is. Then I started evaluating, okay, what is your credit cards looking like? So I started to look at it, and I saw her utilization was way over the max. So she was utilizing way more than what her credit limit allowed her to. Okay. So that was one. That was an area where like that is an area of concern. We gotta get it to where it's healthier. And so when I saw that, she was just making minimum payments. She didn't understand that in order to just get rid of this credit card debt, you just gotta like attack it like if it was like something that you wanted to kill. Like, that's it. We're not like doing this anymore. Like, just like paying it off like with this intensity, right? And I mean, that's the way I see it. I'm like, because when you have debt like that, it's like you gotta get rid of it.
But some people don't look at it the way. So some people are like can live. They're like, well, I got $50 remaining on my credit card. I can use it. You know, like it. They're. I think that
your credit score is gonna hurt so badly. You cannot walk in a mortgage with, you know, the mortgage is gonna tell you, well, you're gonna have to pay this off. They're gonna tell you exactly what you don't want to hear. So for me, it took me about 3 years for me to just say, okay, I feel good to go to a mortgage and say, hey, I'm ready. You know, it took me a good 3 years to like really say that. But that's because for me, I would say I was like a struggling college student, right? I was working and I was in college. But then once I started getting that big, you know, big girl job, and I was making, you know, I was in corporate and making that big girl money, I was like, okay, I'm ready to pay off my debt because I know that this is what's going to take me to the next level. And if people understand that, you know, having debt, like, you know, the credit cards, like you have people that are, you know, going to clubs on the weekends and popping bottles and all these stuff. And then paying it up, they're literally like they're financing their whole lifestyle.
Yeah.
But they don't have a house. They don't have emergency fund. You know, they're probably about to get their car repoed if they don't pay. Like, this is real life stuff.
But in your experience, what have you seen that works for people? Because, like, I think sometimes it takes something in people's life to happen.
So I'm a keep it real, but not a lot of people like him because he's just very like. It's like that dad that you don't want to hear about, but it's Dave Ramsey. I don't know if you know who Dave Ramsey is.
I know who Dave Ramsey is.
But Dave Ramsey will get you to where you're gonna start thinking about your finances.
I kind of look at him and I'm like, well, you don't use credit cards, you know.
He don't use none of that.
That's
but
what
I feel like that's the type of I would say structure or strategy that someone needs in order to just like cut debt out, but then
it'd be a good foundation.
It's a good foundation, correct? But then I look at it as a woman's perspective, and I'm like, I can't live off $1,000 emergency fund, you know, because I was a single mom.
Yeah.
So it's like I can't live off $1,000 emergency fund. I need to make sure I have a good 2 to 3 months of an emergency for my own peace of sake, and then I can say, okay, what are all of my debt where my interest rate is over 7%? Because if it's over 7%, we gotta get rid of it.
Okay.
Because you're becoming a slave to the lender at this point. Because all you're doing is you're just paying out. You know, you're paying out. So going back to my client, she didn't understand that the more she was utilizing her credit card and she was just making the minimum payment, she was paying interest. And when I told her that little thing, she was like, we gotta get rid of it. I was like, of course we gotta get rid of it. And
really? It just took that? Like some people...
because she has money. She's I would consider her someone with just didn't have the proper knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And she has savings, right? Because she's a woman and she wants to make sure she has her savings. And
you know, I've always seen that women are a lot better with
finances,
with money. Yeah, I'd like to say I'm a risk taker, but I don't think like that. I don't think like, okay, if I get $40,000, I think about spending $40,000.
Right, because think about it, like, you know, all of us, we go through a lot, especially in relationships.
Yeah.
And so we need to make sure, you know, we have our coins. So the day we want to step out.
And see, and it's a good perspective to gain because like I don't think like that, right? Like I think that I don't know. I feel like if I lose everything today, then I don't know. I'll just work for it tomorrow. But that's not a good way to.
It's crazy how you say this because my mom thinks the same way too. But you see, you can't. You're young, but when you're at that age, you're like, no, you have to figure out a way to like settle down. So like, what are we doing to create more passive income? Because the more passive income that you can create now, for example, you could be doing podcasts all day.
I hate the word passive income just because it's so thrown out like it's easy.
No, it's not.
Exactly. Like, let's
Mm-mm.
just get that straight. It's
Like,
not easy.
cause like the way I see, I'm in my active income bag, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm out here, I'm talking to you,
Mm-hmm.
I'm working with clients and stuff like that. But once I become to the point where I'm just overseeing things, then that's where the passive income comes in.
Okay. Good,
Because
good.
you're not having to, like, for example, lift a finger type of thing. You know how people say it. But it takes hard work. It really does.
Yeah, because passive income, like, I don't know, a lot of things that I think we see today is like propaganda, good advertisement, right? They're all good with it, but it's like there's stepping stones to
Absolutely.
get there, you know?
Right, and I really feel like it all comes down to hard work and like really just figuring out what is it that you want, right? And just trying to like stay focused. And sometimes we get distracted, like, cause okay, so I just got into a whole new job. Like, I used to work from home for 4 years, right? Pandemic happened,
Mm-hmm.
2020, 2024. Through that time, I was working from home.
Mm-hmm.
And social media got the best of me. I was scrolling, looking at other people, comparison. Don't get me wrong, I found smart ways through some
No,
of
no,
that.
and I'm glad you're being I'm glad you're being vulnerable because like most
Yeah,
of the time that's kind of what you end up doing.
right. And so, but I decided to say, hey, I know I can't afford to just go as a full-time entrepreneur because I have a family to feed. Like you said, I take care of my father. I have a daughter. My husband just came from the country, so I just can't. He can't make six figures, but we can work on that, right? Because now we know about business. We can go get a nice van, which I got. I was like, okay, we got you a van. Now you ready for business?
But how is that possible? Only through credit, right?
Yes, yep. I went to. You leveraged my Chase Sapphire card. And 0 interest.
I don't know what that is, but okay.
Yeah, I went to Chase. I was like, listen, I need to make sure. And with Chase, I mean, there's pretty good like benefits. I didn't realize that TikTok teaches you a lot.
Yeah, it does.
But
If you wanted to though, because like you said, I think that you can actively scroll and like even come across a whole bunch of videos that teach you something, but you have to be
absolutely.
intentional about those things because
Yep.
if you aren't, then yeah, you do get caught up into again comparing yourself like this person is here, why
Because you
am I
probably
not
follow a lot
there?
of women or a lot of people that inspires you, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
could do a lot. Like it could do, depending on how you think of it. But I always encourage to just try to be productive during the day, and then maybe you can spend 5 minutes or whatever, and maybe to help you bring ideas or inspiration. So going back, like this year, I'm working on 9 to 5. I'm actually in the office. I'm in higher education now, which is a whole completely new industry as the accounting manager. And so because I needed structure, I didn't want to just be home. And my business is still brand new and I'm still getting myself out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, I'm just a busy bee. Like if you, like you said, like it was hard for us to like really meet because I just do more than just, my business. And so I wanted to be able to continue to provide that impact. And yeah, so working.
And I want to ask you because you have firsthand experience.
Absolutely.
You've already had a little bit of experience with like accounting. You had experience being a single mother. What are some what is some advice you'd give to like a single mother like trying to make it, like trying to, or that is struggling with her finances?
Yeah.
What would be like the
That's a
first
really good
step?
question. So a lot of people live paycheck to paycheck, and
Yeah.
it's really a real thing. And I would just say that just try to find a system that that works for you. Budgeting, and I feel like we throw that around all the time, but budgeting, like having a zero based budget where you give a dollar, you give a name to every dollar, is gonna really help you get out of that hole. So you can create a budget for, let's just say, daycare. Like, what is your daycare looking like? Or, like for men, like, okay, haircut. Like, because we have things that are priority. Like, if it's self-care, like my client has a self-care, like, and her budget is pretty, but she's able to afford it, and I'm like, whatever, whatever, whatever that budget is, just make sure you're intentional about it too, because you want to get to the next level. So maybe your rent is way too high. Maybe you're living in an area where
and those are some hard truths sometimes, because for if you want to be able to live good, it's hard to downgrade.
It is
if
hard.
if you want to eat well, sometimes it's tough to downgrade.
So then from there, I would say, well, if you don't want to downgrade, then you're gonna have to figure out either get a new job or get like a new, like, pick up a side gig or start a tax business. It's just like, and if you really wanted to, like, starting a new business, find your passion and really turn it into a profit, because that can also just open up all of the write-offs, all of the credit deduction, all of these things that you qualify for, and then you can go back to your taxes and potentially get more money back, right, to the IRS, because at the end of the day, the IRS is gonna look at what the money that you made, right? Like, what is your bottom line looking like? Because if your bottom line is looking very over 50,000, 60,000, or any of that sort, you're gonna be overpaying on taxes if you didn't have any tax planning in place to be able to, like, lower it as much as you can.
Okay, whenever you said the 50,000, what do you mean?
So, like, at the end of the day, the IRS is gonna, like, depending on your situation, right? They're gonna do either the standard deduction, right? So the standard deduction for, like, single, let's just say, it's about 14,600.
Oh, okay.
Right. So, like,
so you can write. So
it's like, that's kind of like our write-off when we're looking at a personal return. So, like, let's just say I made 50, or let's just say I made 75,000 annually, right? And the standard deduction is about, like, 14,600. So that leaves me about, so just doing easy math, that's about 50K.
Yeah.
Is bring it down to 50K. And so that is what you're telling the IRS, well, that's what you made. And so then from there, you have to pay on that 50,000. Now, if you're a W-2, right, sometimes your paycheck looks the way it looks because you're paying to the IRS, right?
Yeah.
So in that case, you might have some money. You might have some money getting back to you because you overpaid. Like, meaning maybe you owed, from that 50,000, you owed 5,000, but you overpaid 7,000 through your W-2. So if you're getting a refund, that means you're overpaying the IRS. So if you live in paycheck to paycheck, for example, I would actually analyze and see, okay, during the year or during tax season, am I getting a refund? Because if I am, then I can actually go back to my HR department and adjust my W-4, because the W-4 helps you adjust your withholdings.
I've never heard about that paper.
Yeah. Okay. And so, if you're, especially if you're a business owner, your clients have, or your employees have payroll, they can go to the W-4 and they can actually adjust what they want. So you have power.
Really? Yeah. I didn't know that.
You can file exempt if you want to, but don't do that. Because that means if
you pay everything at the end of the year, right?
Yeah. If you file exempt, then that means you're telling the IRS you don't want them to take a dime. And that you're going to hold responsible to pay.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
I'm sorry. No, that's okay. Thank you.
Go keep killing it.
I'm killing it. I'm speaking. speaking facts.
This is Melissa. No,
I'm speaking facts.
It was a pleasure.
Okay. Thank you, Melissa.
I'll see you in a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, we're going back to
the W-4.
The W-4. It's I didn't know that existed, but yeah, it's not a good idea to be exempt because I think that
absolutely not.
You always have to have in mind that you're like if you're part of this society, the American society, then you always have to pay Uncle Sam, right? So like in one way or another. Being a business owner, sure, you have a little bit more leverage, but I think there's also benefits that I didn't know of. Right. Also working.
So the difference between a 1099 is that you're kind of like an exempt person.
Okay, that would kind of be it, right?
Yeah,
you're exempt. You can do that with the W-4.
With the W-4, you can there's a little box. I don't know where, but there's a little box that says exempt. And that will say to the IRS that you don't want nothing. So when your payroll person is actually doing all the calculations, they're going to run through. And I've had a lot of clients come to me and they don't understand why they're paying all this money. And then they have to go back to their HR department and refile a W-4.
But is that because the HR is being negligent or just because that's kind of how the system is?
So that's a very good question. Like sometimes your HR can have mistakes. Because at the end of the day, it's all humans putting information.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, that can happen, but there's always like...
It's better to be sure, I think.
Yeah, it's better to be sure. And sometimes when I get, clients are like, well, I didn't know, and it's like they go into the HR and making sure. So I don't know. Sometimes something with either they didn't update it or because it's like a manual work, like because now that I'm as an accounting manager, I can kind of see and I oversee payroll. I can see how things can get missed because either you didn't put the information from that employee. So it's sometimes it's kind of like the clients can also. They also have to be their own personal advocate because if you look at your paycheck and taxes are not being taken out, like you can't be so surprised when it comes to tax season. Okay, yeah. Like, but yeah. At some point, like you, it's like you don't want to put the blame on the client, but at the same time, it's like,
But I like how you look at it because you do have to be your own advocate in everything that you do. Absolutely. It doesn't matter. Everything, your relationships, government, everything. It's because like there's no excuse for you to be in. No excuse. Like it's
negligent of your own finances. So sometimes you can't always put the blame on the other person. You also have to just say, well, I should have looked at my pay stub. Or, even if it's the first. So, like, I have a lot of clients coming to me, and they're like, Jazelle, how does my pay stub looking now? Like, is it good? Is it not? Like, let me know. I'm like, no, it's good. They're taking money out of you. That's good.
But it would depend on kind of the direction you want to go, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So, some people don't want to get a refund. It all depends on, like you said, the direction of the client. So, if the client rather have all their money up front, then if they're okay with filing an exempt, now for me, I'm gonna just speak in my example. I don't put dependents because I have a business and I'm still working. So like quarterly, my quarterly taxes, I don't pay them just yet. So I'm like, I want them to take the most money out of my own, main job. I'm not gonna put dependents because I want them to take the most money out of my paycheck.
Okay. Yeah. But again, that goes back kind of like to your strategy or to your benefit.
My own strategy. Because I'm like, well, I know I have my own business. I have tax, I have write-offs. Like also my husband, he has a van. And even with the mileage, like just mileage alone, which I think is a huge benefit when you're dealing with vehicles and you're writing off. Like mileage alone, like sometimes we spend about like an average of 12,000 miles, right, in a year average. And let's just say that is 100% related to business. Can you do the math real quick? Because I like
12,000 miles.
12,000 miles by 0.67 cents.
Yeah.
12,000 miles. How
That's
much is it?
8,040.
How much?
8,040.
So if I'm just, this is my car, this is strictly business, I can write that off every year.
And that's kind of what we don't see, right? Like it's not physical money you have, but it's a tax break that will save you money from paying,
And mileage is one that like a lot of people don't realize. So I always encourage my clients to either like download Mile IQ. That's like a mileage app. And
okay.
yeah, even for you or any business owner, construction workers, the mileage that I came here, it's gonna be deductible.
No, those are good
Even
points.
like if you go into meetings, you going out for dinner with business friends, all of that are deductible.
But I think that takes someone that wants to educate them, right? Like I think people have to be very careful on who they choose like as an accountant.
Exactly.
Because not every accountant is on your side or gonna want to teach you, know?
Exactly.
Even though they know.
Yeah,
which kind of sucks,
It really does, because the thing is sometimes not everyone's gonna listen to, and sometimes that's why, like some accountants are very selective who they want to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Some people want to be in the gray area. Some people want to do things right. I honestly want to do things right. I don't want to be in the gray area. I ain't trying to go to jail for nobody.
Because again, doesn't your signature have to do it? Like once you sign that you prepared those taxes?
Yeah. So do you know that like you can get liable minimum over $600 for any mistake that you make? So, it's funny because I don't even charge $600.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, really, I should.
Okay.
I should be charging a minimum of $600, but I don't, because I like to just, help my community out and also educate and like, it's something bigger than me, right? Like you just, at the end of the day, you're trying to help others, and I feel like it's all gonna pay forward at the end of the day. So.
Do you ever like, and we'll get into the weird stuff now, or like a little bit like, I guess, my dad has always told me that like money is alive.
Money is a what?
Alive. Like
alive?
Yeah. Why? Because, like, let's say you're really struggling with money, then maybe your relationship with money is bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in a way of like, you should never argue in front of money. You should never envy money, because because money is a real thing. It always spells it away.
That's really good.
Like, why don't you think people that are greedy have a lot of money? Sure, there's some like rich billionaires, and maybe the energy is different, right?
Yeah.
Like let's say like me, like a Latino, right? Let's say if I'm too greedy with money, that's why I can't invite more money, because I'm just being greedy. Like I never want to give. And if we would kind of treat it that way, the way that I see it, my parents always lived paycheck to paycheck, right. And I don't know how they managed to live their life without ever asking a loan from like a family member.
Yeah.
But first of all, like I think that just like that, like a lot of couples, a lot of relationships argue over money. You're already kind of setting a bad basis to invite more money. Like, and it's weird, but it kind of works. Like money in your pocket calls more money. Like, I don't know how that works, but it's kind of like, hey, like if you think about like energies and all that, that's kind of a way that you'd also consider of like.
Yeah, and like that saying, like the more money you have, the more problems you have too. And, yeah, I mean, I was gonna think about something, but
that's because you do have to be responsible. Like.
Yeah.
Sure, more money, more problems.
Yeah.
That is true. But that's because, again, if like God is gonna hand you that power, He's also gonna hand you difficulties.
Absolutely.
You can't just be like, you're gonna think it's easy. It can't be. Like, then what does it teach you? You get what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I'm thankful for a lot of reasons on like kind of like the struggle with money that my parents went through when they were young, because I'm like, man, like
You've learned a lot.
yeah, that means saving works,
Absolutely.
like I think we live in a culture again where we just want everything so fast and we don't think about long-term goals. We
Mm-hmm.
think a lot about short-term goals. We think
Mm-hmm.
about how tonight's gonna go and how I'm gonna pop some bottles and I'm gonna have everybody in my section short-term goal. But if we thought about it at the end of the year, like how much money like do I want to have? Do I want to have 10,000? Do I want to have 15,000? Do I want to have $5,000 saved up just in case I want to go on to vacation? Just that, I think we're not patient.
Yeah, we're not thinking about, like you said, we're not thinking about the long term gain,
mm-hmm.
only the short term gain. Like, oh, that feeling that, oh, I had the biggest section, VIP, oh, flotando botella, como dicen
Yeah,
los dominicanos.
but that's kind of like ingrained into the culture, and it takes that personal mindset switch to kind of look at
Yeah.
it differently. Because if you don't look at that,
And then you look at the owners, they're probably like, yeah, let them pop champagne.
and that's what I'm saying. Like
They're like, oh, yeah, we.
that's so funny. I've always looked at that, and I'm like, dude, like the owners must be so happy that they own this place because look at how full it always gets. Look at how QC. Look at how Bocao. Look at like. And
You
the
said it. You said it. You said it.
and
This
the
is good.
and I'm not going against anyone. Hey, go
Yeah,
have fun.
no.
And people there don't have a good foundation to stand on. Like
Yeah.
that's what's odd about the world, that
Yeah.
we want security, we want a lot of things, but our goals
We're not working hard for it.
or even our habits don't
Exactly.
don't correlate with a lot of the things that we want.
Yeah.
And sometimes whenever you talk to your friends about it, they're like, well, it's not your business, like I'm having fun. Well, if that's
So,
kind of
like, one of the things about I realize is becoming a self-made millionaire, like,
mm-hmm.
for you to become a millionaire, you have to do a lot of things, like, mentally, physically. It takes a lot of mental strength. It takes a lot of sacrifices. It takes more than just you, and so, like,
that's kind of my hard realization, that
yeah,
it's not only me. Like, it takes a lot of people to get there.
it takes a lot of people to get there, and it's like once you start becoming in this level of like, okay, what does that mindset look like? Okay, let me get into these rooms where people are making, easy $10,000 per month, easy, like, it's not gonna happen overnight because you are you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have a beautiful story. I mean, I don't know you like all the way, but like, we all have our stories.
Yeah.
And we all have resources. I'm pretty sure you know a lot of people, and especially the background that you have. And for me, like, I do the same. Like, I leverage, my mom has a beauty salon, so I know a lot of people through her.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously with the taxes, you learn a lot. You grow and you learn a lot of people. So it's like, I feel like at the end of the day, like, we all like have this job, like this main job, but if you really think past it, it's like, what can you do to provide more of an impact and be able to, help others, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I started, like, with taxes and how I want to be able to help empower women and help them, like, with their finances, like, meet them where they're at. Like, okay, you need help with credit score, okay, we'll help you. Or you need help with bookkeeping, we'll help you. You need help with budgeting, we'll help you.
Why do you think that women come to you as a resource? Like, let's say, even if they have a husband, even, or a man, like, is it because, like, for me, I'd like to provide more in a relationship than just,
well, the thing is,
you
like,
know,
see, there's a stigma because I call myself Accountant Bay, right? And like, it's really just like Instagram and social media. It's not supposed to define who I am as a person.
mm-hmm.
It's just more of social media. And the way I see it is, I talk to men all day long. People don't know that, but I talk to my husband's cousins, and my husband's cousin has a wife.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to him, and then he says, well, okay, I'm going to talk to my wife. Sometimes they go back to their wives and talk to them and figure out, what do they think?
Mm-hmm.
Because I just feel like we live in a society where we all think about me, 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 me. But when you put that partner into your meetings, into what you got going on, you can kind of see that woman could tell you what you probably don't see. And, it's a person that loves you, that cares about you, that has that nurturing environment. And so, like, for me, I'm just like, I like to just get past all of the, the macho, que sé yo, like, let me just talk to the girls, because I feel like they're easier to talk to. They could relate to me, whether they're single or they're a mom. They kind of see me grow into this, person. I live an authentic life. Like, I don't try to, like, live a lavish life. And so, like, I just talk to the girls because they just seem to be a lot more approachable.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to men, I feel like they have, like, this, they try to, like, but then maybe their wife can be like, okay, bájale algo. And, like, then I could probably talk to them, right? So that's how I see it. And, I'm grateful to have a husband where he's very calm. Like, I'm the one, like, and he's very calm, and he can, level me to where I need to be. But
Accountant Bay Jazelle, thank you so much for allowing me to meet you. I think the energy that you also, like, have, like, it will take you places just because you're motivated to do it. And you need knowledge, and you need a lot of reasons to, like, again, like, become a self-millionaire, or even to reach your goals. And I think you have that energy, you have that perseverance. So thank you again for letting me meet you, being on the podcast. And I'm sorry to cut it short just because, like, my other camera ended up burning out.
No, you're fine.
Is there any, like, last remarks you would like to give before we end the episode?
No, I just want to say thank you for having me, and it's been a pleasure.
How about a message to women that are, or even anybody that's having, like, has a financial situation they want to take care of?
Yeah, I mean, just continue doing what you're doing. Don't ever feel like in your what you're going through, you should be ashamed, or you should, put yourself down, because I feel like a lot of us, we do that. Just try to, like, get you a good, find that good friend that's probably doing, better than you, that's elevating their life, and just, like, say, hey, girl, what you doing? How can I, be humble about it. Like, sometimes we pride ourselves, right? And so it's like, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to feel like, I don't know what I'm doing. Help me get to the next level. And let's just run it up. Like, let's do it together. Like, that's all I can say. And, keep living your purpose, and stay focused, and don't try to let other women that probably doing, going to the clubs or doing whatever they're doing, let them be, and just focus on you. If you got kids, like, them babies, they need you at the end of the day. So, like, let's just focus on what you got to do and to get to the next level.
Thank you, Giselle, and I hope to see you on the next one. Thank you.
On the next one.